Welcome back, guys. So I'm going to be discussing the provisions in winter and how to survive the winter. So I'm not 100% sure on this, but I'm pretty sure that there's a bug in the game at the moment, which is what is causing such problems with the supply. Now, I haven't confirmed this, and there are some doubts over this theory, so yeah, I apologise if I'm wrong, but since doing what I'm about to show you, I have never run out of food in winter. So, the first thing you want to do is get supply wagons. Now, if you open up the mining resource map mode, you can see where you're growing wheat. So, buy supply wagons and station them in the cities that are growing the wheat. Now, you don't necessarily have to put one in every single city, but I have done anyway. Now, a lot of these I didn't set up until very late. In fact, it was only a week or so ago. So a lot of them haven't got much provisions in. But some of them have stocked up quite a good amount of provisions. I think this is the one, another one that I didn't start till late. Okay, so you will get a sea invasion, which mine has just kicked in. Now, if you have a sea invasion and you've got provisions in these areas, then the invasion will basically steal all of your provisions. Now, obviously, the best thing to do with a sea invasion is to sink it at sea, but if you're not playing with a navy, then that isn't an option. So, this is using the supply wagons works in two different ways. One, it lets you transfer your goods out of a city that a naval invasion is about to steal. And two, it kind of bypasses the bug that's currently in the game. So no doubt you'll have got to winter, everyone's starving, and you don't know how to fix it. Well, the problem is, if it's already winter, then you're pretty much screwed. Because you don't produce crops in winter. So you have to set this up, preferably around about August. Start getting supply wagons in all of these areas in August. Then by the time winter hits, which I think it's December, obviously it's December in real life, but I don't know when it is in the game. But I assume it's December, or when the first naval invasion comes, which is usually mid-October. Then you're going to want to move all of these supply wagons up to your front line, basically, where all your main troops are. So this will basically feed your army throughout the entire of winter, these supply wagons will. And you can obviously capture more provisions in some of these cities as well. So if we have a look, we can't actually see Quebec. Oh, we can't see what any of the enemies have got, any of the enemy cities. But you usually find that places like Quebec have usually got quite a lot of provisions in them. But you have to raid them before winter, because obviously the AI will eat them all up during winter. So you've got to actually stock up during the summer and autumn. So you want to try and take as much of the map as possible. I prefer to avoid Saratoga, Ticonderoga, all these forts here. They don't really provide any benefit. They barely leave their area, so they're not really much of an offensive threat. I've had nobody protecting these areas throughout the entire game, and they haven't even attacked me. So I've just concentrated. I took Fort Montgomery and then just worked my way up the east coast. So another thing which will help you, just pause the game. I'll pause it with the hotkey so the music doesn't go off. So another thing that will help you, and I think this kind of helps bypass the bug as well, is if you click on a city or a fort, there's a priority button down here. Now if you check this priority button, it'll start filling up that city or fort with ammo and provisions. So as you can see here, we've got full ammo and full provisions. So if you didn't want to leave your supply wagons back here, then what you can do is set a priority closer to the front line. So say Falmouth, Lovell, Lyman, wherever you want basically. And then move your supply wagons to the places where you've selected the priority. So I don't know why this works. I think it's a bug in the game. But if you don't select these priorities, then all of your resources they'll either go to global storage, which is what usually happens with the ammo, or they'll just get lost in transportation. I don't know why. I have no idea what's actually going on. But ever since using these supply wagons to lug the supplies around myself, rather than relying on the supply network, I've had far more supplies during the winter. And I've nearly always had the same amount of troops. So it's not because I've got more troops eating them, or less troops eating them, I should say. It's just simply because I've bypassed the need for a supply network. It's obviously a lot more micro intensive, but it will feed you throughout the winter. So checking these boxes is a great way to store the ammo, and using the supply wagons is a great way to store the provisions and the ammo as well, of course. So that is basically everything you need to do to survive the winter. So I'll fast forward and then I'll show you at the end of winter what the situation is. Okay, so I've loaded up a save at the end of February, which is, I think it's the end of winter at the end of February. Might be sometime in March, I'm not 100% sure. Because I've loaded up the save, you can't see some units that are in the fog. I have to fast forward until I get some reports come through. But basically, here are a couple of the supply wagons that I've left behind. And as you can see, we're at the end of winter and I've still got half full on the provisions. So this one's about a quarter or a third full. And then if we have a look at the units themselves, that's full on provisions. These are basically full, and they're only not full because they've been outside of the city for a while I've been fighting around here. But if I returned back to my supply wagons, then it'd fill them up. Full. This wagon's full. And then these aren't quite full because I haven't had the supply wagon nearby. And then if we have a look in the places that I left the priority check marked, we've got full provisions here, full provisions here. So we've got tons and tons of provisions and we're at the end of winter. So that's just to demonstrate what the effects are of the previous advice. So hope this has been helpful. Obviously, if you don't want these provisions here anymore, you just uncheck it and it'll work its way back into global storage. I recommend, instead of unchecking it without putting a supply wagon in, I recommend putting a supply wagon into the city before unchecking, and then it'll unload it into the supply wagon, and then you've obviously got a huge stock of supplies that you can then lug around without having to wait for it to go to global and then gradually go back to the cities to then supply it. So that's why having some of these left on priority is a really good way to quickly fill up a supply wagon when you need one. and then you can just rush it to wherever you need. Okay, hope this has been helpful. Cheers for watching, take care, I shall see you soon.